Welcome, Tom.
Thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Tell us a little bit, what did you cover this morning in your speech?
Look, I think I'm at the forefront. It's all about environment. It's all about sustainability. It's all about, where have we been historically and where do we want to go in the future? And that's a long road. But for us, from a Fairmont standpoint, we've really embarked on this for the last 20 years, and it's progressively getting better and better and better. And we're covering more and more areas relative to what can we do to create sustainable workplaces, create sustainable environments for our colleagues and our guests and the future generations, not only for the industry, but it's the right thing to do to preserve the wonderful environment that we all have. And we're a global player, as you know, so we have a high presence in some very unique and wonderful destinations around the globe. There are common threads that we do, whether it's the lighting in the hotel, whether it's the recycling of some of the foods that we use in the kitchen, whether it's community involvement. But you also have to be, while that takes on more of a global approach, one always has to be sensitive to the local environment that you live and work in. And we have, as I mentioned before, we have those destinations in Canada, and we have some wonderful iconic assets in those areas, whether you're preserving the owls that may be flying around your resorts, whether it's the golf course, whether it's the recycling of the water that you're using to water the greens or things like that. But if you just take a look at what we do in the hotels, certainly from an energy standpoint is critical and works very well for us. But just recycling some of the waste in the kitchen, we try not to throw anything out. It has another purpose, whether we break it down and give it to a local vendor that will then reclaim that and use that for herb gardens, or we'll use that in gardens or what have you.
So what about from an employee level? Are employees trained so that sustainability is kind of first top of mind?
It is, and I'm glad you raised that, because that's really mission critical for us, because we need the collective mass of 26,000 employees that we have around the globe to take ownership of preserving the environment. We get involved in many different outreach programs. For example, in California, the coastal cleanup, where we have 1,000+ colleagues that will get out and basically spend a day cleaning up the community, whether it's beaches or rivers or lakes or whatever it might be. And each property that we have takes on certain outreach programs to better the community. And what better way, can you do it than get all of your colleagues involved? And 1,000, we set a target for 1,000, and we not only met it, but we exceeded it.
Wow.
So we were quite pleased with that.
From a cost perspective, is there some point that it's cost effective to be more green, would you say? Or is it right now it's kind of just breaking even?
And it's a good point, because particularly in this economic climate where everybody's watching the dollars and cents, there's always a cost to it. And naturally, we always want a return on our investment. You're recycling, you're reusing, and particularly when you can reuse it within the business unit that you manage, you're naturally saving money versus wasting it.
Sure.
And the same thing, there are some programs that you're right. They may cost you a little bit more in the short term, but in the long term, they will be gained. If I change every light bulb in this hotel, there's a significant cost today to do that.
Right.
However, the long-term return on that investment, whether it's 12 or 18 months, it's a win-win situation. And that's one of the challenges as we go through becoming sustainable and working in this type of climate, is one has to take a longer view to it. This is not a quick fix overnight.
What do you like about what you're doing now? Now you're on the California coast.
I'm in God's country, I've been blessed, you're right, in many different ways, from being able to travel the world and see different parts of the world. Naturally, the west coast of the U.S. is spectacular. San Francisco is wonderful, and north to south is all spectacular. And there's so many things that one can do in this part of the country. But, likewise, having lived in Australia and South Africa and Europe and many other countries around the world, you realize how small this world really is and how much smaller it is getting. Mm-hmm. So, to our topic of preserving the environment, this is not a local issue, this is a global issue.
And who were some of your mentors, people that you looked up to when you first started?
When I first started, I started many years ago with Hyatt. Hyatt at the time, this was going back into the late 70s, early 80s, very much innovators in the culinary side of things, and architecture, and the Pritzker family were fabulous. Ritz-Carlton, Horst Schulze, who really understood culture, who really understood service, and truly understood how to meet and exceed guest expectations, and to do that through a cohesive work environment with all of the colleagues in the hotels. You know, and those, he probably made the single biggest impact from a service culture standpoint that you tend to keep with you. Of course, there's other people out there. I mean, I was blessed and fortunate to sit with Nelson Mandela, for example, in South Africa, and just basically have a one-on-one chat with him for an hour.
What would you tell someone just coming into the industry today as far as the hospitality industry together with environmental issues?
Well, I think you have to be, I mean, coming in, number one, be flexible, do what it takes, don't worry about things you can't control. As far as the environment, I think you have to merge the two, and you have to be sensitive as you move the business forward. You cannot run any business, as far as I'm concerned, in isolation without looking at your product, looking at your strategy, merging and the environment, the people, and it all has to work in harmony. I'm passionate about people. I love people. You know, I mean, naturally in this business, it's our industry. I am passionate about seeing people succeed. I'm passionate. I love to see people fail, and I love to see them recover, and I love to support them through that process. And I really enjoy, what motivates me is people doing it better, being smarter, and you know, you get goosebumps around, you know, when you see the colleagues that are actually, wow, they're taking ownership. They're really passionate about what they do.